Hi friends, thanks for joining me today. I recently ordered some new paints, and so I'm going to be talking about those today because that's what I'll be using. There's typically about 2 different brands, sometimes 3 different brands of paints that I use on a regular basis, and I had seen a video with these paints and I thought that they looked really spectacular in the video, so I went ahead and ordered some to try out for myself, and I did practice up with them a little bit yesterday. I absolutely love them, so I'm excited to share them with you. So real quick, I do want to set that aside, and I'm going to put the box here, and I'm not even sure if it's all going to show up in the frame, but they're from Japan, and the name of these is, I think it's pronounced Kurtaki, and it's a 36 pan set of paints. And so as I'm going along painting today, I'll talk about them a little bit. But I'm very excited because, as I mentioned, they're vibrant, they're beautiful, and just a lot of fun to work with. So I'm going to set those aside. Now, before I get too far into this, I would like to ask you to go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. It really helps me grow, and I appreciate each and every one of you for your support, and I thank you for that. So with these paints, I did go ahead and I created just a little swatch sheet, and I put the names of the colors on the, on the little swatches that I did, just as a nice reference guide. Now, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I will have a description, or have the information on these paints down in the description box below. So if you wanted to check them out for yourself, have at it. And so for today's materials, I have my watercolor paper, I have my paint set, a couple of jars of clean water to rinse my brush. I do have my number 8 round Princeton brush. And then, of course, a couple paper towels. I do have a pencil because I'm going to be sketching in just real lightly jar. What I'm going to be painting today is a jar of flowers, and I'm going to do a lot of different colored flowers so that you can see all these beautiful, vibrant shades of the paints. And so another thing that I'm going to be using today is a gift that was given to me by my sister-in-law, and it's just stackable mixing trays for watercolors. So I have a couple of them out here, and I'll be using these as well. So I'll get those set up here. And I just want to get all organized. Okay, so as I mentioned, I do just kind of want to real briefly sketch out very, very lightly, just a little, it's going to be just a basic jar of water that my bouquet of flowers will be in. Okay, so that's just kind of a loose little sketch to give me an idea of where I need to be with that. And so for these flowers, I'm going to start out with some reddish colored flowers, and for that I'll be using my cadmium scarlet as the base of the flower. And I know that the paints aren't in the picture, the angle of the camera is not large enough for all of that. So for these flowers, I do have a pretty good amount of water and paint on my brush. All right, and I'll just get started with a few of these. And so for my flowers, you know how I love to just kind of do some real loose flowers, and they're basically just a teardrop. And then I do like to put a few little wisps in there. I typically will leave 5 petals, or paint 5 petals onto here. And you can see that these are pretty, the colors are pretty, I guess you could say, loud or vibrant. And so I'm going to put a few of these in, and then I also want to put in, I'm going to do maybe some reds or blues, and just kind of give you an idea of some of these different colors and what they look like. And so these flowers that I'm painting, they're just, pretty loose, and I'll be going back through and putting a center in them. And you can see they're pretty quick to do, right? just a very loose little petal. And down here, I think I'll put one kind of like a profile of a flower. So it's only going to have the 3 petals as opposed to the 5. And then of course the center will be facing down. And you'll see that will all come together as I go along and start doing some of the fill in. I think I'll put one more of these. And as I mentioned, this is the cadmium scarlet color in this set. And so over here, I think I'll do another one just kind of facing the other way. I'll have it kind of facing up. And these are so easy, so fun and easy and quick to do, these type of flowers. So I have that down, and now I'm going to switch over to, probably more of an orangish color. We're going to go with our cadmium orange. This does look to be a little bit bright, doesn't it? Ooh, it's going to be gorgeous. These colors are just so vibrant, and I hope that it does show in the, you know, in the video or on the camera, because they are absolutely gorgeous. And I will be using these quite a bit moving forward, I think, for a lot of my paintings. You know, I like to do a lot of the abstracts, and these are going to be fabulous to, you know, come up with some of the different abstract ideas that I have floating around in my head. Okay, and these are just, I'm not mixing this color with anything. This is just the straight color, and this is the cadmium orange. I think I'll put one up here, and it's going to be just a side partial view, I guess. And then once these dry nicely, I'm going to go back through and add another layer of color onto the flowers themselves, just to give them a little bit of character and depth, and you know, make them stand out a little bit. And this is great practice. And you know, I keep talking about these paints, but in reality, I do these type of flowers and these little designs with all of my different paints. Some of them I kind of on purposely do make a little bit more subtle or more pale, more pastel-y, I guess is a good word for it. And my arm keeps sticking to my paper towel over here. Let's see, let's put maybe some bluish greens in here. I think I want to go with, this is a Viridian. It might be a little too greenish. I think I'm gonna not use that, just because I want the green in my leaves to stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to go with something just a little more bluish. And I think I'll go with the turquoise blue. There's so many great colors to choose from. It's like decisions. All right, and so here again, let me just check real quick. I want to see if that's, yeah, see, that's really not even in the picture either. So let me kind of move those around and get this down here. Okay. I just want you to kind of have an idea of what I am doing. So this is the turquoise blue. And once again, it's just a solid color. I'm not mixing it with anything. And there is quite a bit of the paint on my brush. Actually, I can't even say that there's quite a bit. There is a pretty good amount of paint on my brush. It's just so vibrant that it's just really pops right out. And I'll put one right here. So you can see as I do these teardrop shape petals, I do have a little bit of white, you know, still in each of the petals, and I'm just kind of real quick drawing this teardrop shape so that they don't all look the same. And then I do like to leave my wispy little lines, or areas for wispy little petals hanging out. Now normally if I was drawing a little vase of flowers, I don't know if I would really use all of these colors in one design. I just wanted to do it with this one too. Actually I haven't done this as a practice, so we're all going to experience what this looks like together. But I wanted to do all of these colors just to give you an idea of how vibrant and beautiful they are. So I'm kind of tucking them all into one little project. All right. And they can overlap some of the other petals, on other flowers. That gives it a good look. And so I think for one last color, I'm actually going to use a purple. Now this is called, let's see, which one do I want to use here? I'm going to use the actual, what they call purple. To me it looks a little reddish, but I'm not the one that comes up with the names, So this is what they call purple. And so with doing these, as I said, do any colors that you feel comfortable with. I mean, you do you. Everybody has their preferred color schemes and palettes and such, and so just kind of come up with what appeals to you. And if you were to go ahead and purchase a set of these paints, we're gonna have so many to choose from. Oh my gosh, they're just so beautiful. I absolutely love these. They're a lot of fun. And so I kind of, and I know it's out of the screenshot, but I kind of dip just the tip of my brush into the water just to keep, a good amount of water on my brush so that the paints, they go on very nice and easy. Okay, and so I think with this, I think I want to just put one more, just so I have 3 flowers, at least 3 flowers with this color on there. I think I'll put one right here, hanging down over the side of the jar of water or vase. It's actually going to be a jar of water. You can see those two kind of blended in together because the blue flower was still wet, and that's fine. It gives it a very nice look. Okay, so the flowers, the cadmium scarlet flowers, the original ones I did, they're dry enough now that I do want to go back over them, and I'm going to use, it's called Red Madder Deep. And the madder is M-A-D-D-E-R, and you can see how much darker that is. So I'm using that, and then I'm just going to go into the base of each of the petals and kind of add another dimension of color. I want it to be much darker, that way it's going to give it a lot of depth and character. And I'm just with the very tip of my brush kind of painting in a little, just a few little strokes on each one of these. Oh, and I think this actually was my orange flower, and I'm doing the same on that, same color on that one, and that works because we do want, we want this little accent color to really make everything pop and stand out nicely. So it's going to work well. See, I didn't really even think about what color I would do with the yellow, but this is working, so we go with that. right? Then we can come down here and work on these a little bit. Let me get just a little bit more on my brush. And as I mentioned, I'm just using the very tip of my brush for this. You do want to make sure that you keep it pretty, you know, the tip, keep plenty of water on there along with the paint itself. Whoops, that might be just a little too much. I'll get just a little more paint on there. And so to do this portion of it, you know, these little accent lines, you do want to make sure that that base color is good and dry, because on some of them it's nice if the colors blend, but really you want these little lines to kind of pop and stand out on their own. Okay, so in order for that to be possible, then that base color does have to be good and dry. And it's basically just layering colors, you know, and we do that quite often with a lot of these designs. I would say some of the abstract designs, which that's going to be my next video, is some abstracts with these new paints. So for the abstracts, you do want the colors to blend, you know, all of them to be still wet as you layer on the different colors, and so they all blend nicely. Okay, so I do have all of those done. So now I will go to the blue and just want to make sure that they're dry enough, which I think they are. So to do something a little darker on the blue, the base flower of those is the turquoise, and so to do something a little darker, let me switch out my little trays again. For this, I'm going to use the, I think I'll use the Prussian blue actually, and get some nice deep rich blue colors going. Oh yeah, see, that's gonna work well. Okay, so if we come into these, and you do want to pretty much stay in the same color family, you know, when you're doing these. Well, actually, it would be kind of fun to try it with maybe two different colors, and you know, because a lot of flowers out in the wild, they do have several colors in them, so maybe that'll be another video that I can put together for everyone. And see how quick and easy this is, and I mean, they look beautiful. I love these colors. All right, so let's kind of, and then for the centers, I guess I haven't really even decided what color I'll use for the centers. A lot of times I just go with indigo, which is a very dark bluish black color, because it makes them, you know, stand out quite a bit. So, and probably with so many different colored flowers, I probably will go with the indigo on that. I have a minute or two here to figure that one out, I guess, right? Okay, so for the purple flowers, now I'm gonna go in with this. This is called a cobalt violet, is what the name of it is on here. And so let's just take a peek here. Oh yeah. Look at these, gorgeous. They are so vibrant, so pretty. Oh my gosh. So I think these paints are going to be probably my favorite for the next few weeks anyway, until I get used to it. And then we'll see where we go from there, right? It's always fun to try new things. Okay, so all of the flowers are now painted in, and as you can see, I had left a few little white spots. in my petals. And I did that on purpose, just as like little highlights, or, you know, just to give them character and depth. There, I wanted to wipe that out so I can use some greens in here. And so I'm going to hold off on doing the centers of all of the flowers until that second layer of coloring is dry. And so while we're waiting for that, I'm going to start working on some some leaves and vines. And I'm going to work with, now this I am going to mix up a little bit. So I have some of my olive green here. Okay, so we have some olive green, and then I'm going to add, oh, maybe just a little hint of the Prussian blue. There, that gives it a nice deep dark color. Okay, so then with the very tip of my brush, I'm going to start adding some stems, going down into the jar of water. And we kind of just follow the line all the way down through. And obviously we won't be doing that for each and every one, but we do want to give the appearance anyway that, you know, most of them are coming down, or all of them I should say are coming down into here. This one can come in from this way, and then up through here we definitely want to make sure that we have, you know, the stems coming down through. I'll make that one just a little bit darker. Okay, so now I will take this same green that I've mixed up, and then for the leaves, you know, we want to keep the leaves pretty simple. Let me just dab my brush a little bit, and I'm going to turn this. Okay, some of these we do want them to be a little bit longer, you know, the leaves themselves. And then basically throughout all of this, you know, bunch of flowers everywhere, we just kind of want to put in some greenery, some leaf shapes. I mean, we're not going to be able to do a lot of detail, obviously, with the leaves because they're kind of buried back behind the flowers themselves, and that's fine. Now up here we can, you know, have one kind of poking out a little bit. And we'll do that kind of around the edge. I don't know why my elbow keeps sticking on my paper towel, but it does. Okay, and you can see I'll leave just a little bit of white area on the leaves also. Intentional, yep. And let's put one right in here. Let's get some greenery going. And you can see I'm just kind of dabbing in green, you know, to give the appearance of leaves and stems and vines and all kinds of good stuff. Because you do want it to look nice and full, right? All right, so let me just grab a little bit more of the Prussian blue just to give it a little bit darker. And I'll come over here, just kind of have one pointing out. And then you can just have fun with this, you know, fill in as much of the greenery as you like. Okay, so now for the jar part of it, while we're letting that dry for just a minute or two, what I'm going to do is just grab some of my ultramarine blue, and I want this to be very light on my brush. So to get that effect, I have a lot of water on there, And I'm just kind of going down the sides, each of the sides. Okay, and then we'll go right around the bottom. And then on this, I want to do just a couple of little lines. So I'm using the side of my brush, and it's pretty dry, and I'm just kind of swiping in a little bit of the paint that I went down the side with. Okay, and so now I'm going to grab a little bit more, and right around here, let me get I'm going to use just a touch of the turquoise in with this. And so around here, I just kind of want to do this, you know, so that it gives the impression that that's where the water level is. Okay, so that's good. We don't want to, you know, do a whole lot and highlight the water. That's not really the focal point of this. Okay, so now the flowers are pretty well dry, so I'm going to go ahead and grab some indigo on my brush. And for this, you don't want your brush to be you don't want a lot of water on your brush. You want, you know, a concentration of the indigo. So with the very tip of this, I'm just going to dab in some little dots. And let me grab a little bit more here. And so even, you can see, even with the dark blue, or with the blue flowers, the darkness really pops, you know, in the middle. So as I dab this in, it's not a complete circle. I'm just kind of filling in that little white area in the middle of the flower. And I'm leaving a little bit of white. It's not a complete circle. I'm just kind of, you know, filling it in, so to speak, to give it the impression of the center of the flower, you know, with the little stamens. If you wanted to do like small, teeny tiny little lines, you know, you could go like this. Let me get just a little bit more water on this brush. You know, so you could go like that, and then a couple little dabs in the center. And you can see just how quick and easy this is. It's a lot of fun. It's great practice too, you know, for painting flowers, you know, and just having fun with it. I was a little nervous about doing all these different colors in one vase, but actually it looks really nice. It almost reminds me of, you know, I've gotten flowers from the flower shop, the floral shops, and, you know, with a bunch of different colors of flowers in them. And this is kind of what that reminds me of. So I did want to just add a little bit of a green to this area. They did kind of look like flowers without without a stem, without a way. Okay, so then in this one I wanted to add just a little bit more to that also. So kind of tweak it, you know, do you. And that's looking pretty good. However, I do want to go back into the greenery just a little bit. With these vibrant colors, it's like I just want to keep adding layer and layer and layer, and you can overdo it for sure. So I do have to be careful about that. But for these for the greenery on this, I'm taking what they call forest green, and I just want to go through and add just a little bit of color here and there, and it just adds a little bit more of a dimension to the greens that are filling in nicely. And so I'm just dabbing, you know, a little bit of green at the base of each of the leaves, and just kind of swirling it in, you know, not being real particular or meticulous with any of it. You can come down and drop in a little bit, you know, down into the stems, and we can kind of mix that all up and get a little bit darker. And really all we're doing is just adding a little bit of dimension to these leaves. And then I think what I'm going to do is take a little bit more of this forest green. I think I'll mix it in a little bit with that indigo just to give it a little bit more darkness. The deeper colors, and kind of fill in just little spaces so that there's not a whole lot of white going on. You can see I'm just kind of dabbing it in there, right? And especially down around here. And then I'm going to take a little bit, I think I want to add just a little bit of a leaf over here. Okay. Okay, so I think that looks good. This is pretty much done as far as I'm concerned. I have a nice full looking jar of flowers, and as you can see, these colors are absolutely gorgeous. Again, the name of the paints from Japan, I think it's called Kurtaki. Be sure to check it out in the description box below. And I think I mentioned earlier, if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, if you could go ahead and do that now, I would really appreciate it. And if you want to see more videos, hit the like and the bell. Feel free to leave comments below. I love to see what all of you have to say, and I do get back to everyone. And on that note, until next time, ciao for now.